Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, it's that time again for us to get fired up, get some motivation, inspiration. Again, grab one good gold nugget you can take out of this and put it in your pocket. Save it for a time where you're going through some trials and tribulations, some difficulty, some hardship, some challenges. You understand what I'm talking about. And use that to get through your challenge, your adversity. And be sure, prepare for it, baby. All right. Today, we're going to talk with a guy here in 2018, had a brain aneurysm and it ruptured. And he's going to give his journey and story here. Welcome to the show, Andrew Davie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. So I appreciate you coming here. Gets me all fired up. I get to meet all of you people out there and what you've been through and how you accomplished it and conquered it. And it helps me definitely, and it's going to help the other people in the future.
Well, I hope so.
So, all right. So 2018 had his brain aneurysm and it ruptured. And then after that, became a caregiver for your mother with Alzheimer's, ALS?
Yeah. So to give you some context, at the end of 2018, I had been teaching high school at a school for students with learning differences and ADHD. It's a small independent school in Alexandria, Virginia. And I had just had my first crime fiction book accepted for publication. That was going to come out.
Wow.
That was going to come out the following year.
Yeah.
So I was going to go visit my parents, who at the time were living right outside of Charleston, South Carolina. And when I got to my gate, I started to sweat uncontrollably, like run a marathon type sweat.
Yeah.
So originally, this is before COVID. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm coming down with something. And they called my group to board. And I tried to lift my backpack, and it felt like there were bricks in my backpack.
Yeah.
It was really hard to lift, which, again, was probably a serious red flag. But I thought, you know what, I might be getting the flu. If I can just get on the plane, I'll take a nap. I'll be fine when I land.
Yeah.
So I scanned my ticket, and I started to walk along the jetway, and the floor began to shift. Like the floor started to move like I was in a funhouse at a carnival. And I fell while I was on the jetway. So it was about 8:30 in the morning, which meant that I was, first responders could get to me very quickly. I was at the airport. So the last thing I remember saying was, I can't miss my flight, because all I could think about was how upset my mom would be that I missed my flight.
Yeah.
Someone said, don't worry, you can catch another flight. And then I passed out. And I believe what happened was they took me to the hospital, and I had what would be life-saving surgery at the time. And so I had filled out the emergency contact form for JetBlue, the airline I was on, and they called to let my family know that I had missed my flight. But they didn't have a lot of information. So for about a few hours, I think the consensus was maybe I tripped or I was just clumsy. And then one of the people in the room during surgery found my phone and saw a bunch of missed calls from who turned out to be my brother. He recognized the same last name. So he called my brother and told him what had happened. And my parents and my brother all either drove or flew up to DC. And I was in the hospital I was in intensive care for about 3 weeks that I don't have any memory of. but I was awake and I was talking to people and answering questions. I wasn't cognizant.
Yeah.
So I've seen some interesting cell phone videos of me talking to people and following orders. I did try to get out of bed to use the bathroom because I didn't realize that I had a catheter. So I needed to have a sitter with me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got out, I fell and broke my nose. But there were also some funny. My parents needed to access my laptop, so they kept asking me for my password, and I would just get to the point of telling them, and then I would say, "You're not really supposed to share that information with people."
Yeah. There you go.
So after about 3 weeks, I regained cognizance and I was moved to rehab. So I was in the hospital for about a week and a half after that, doing like various therapies every day.
Yeah.
Um, and then after about 10 days, I was discharged. I went back to my apartment. My mother stayed with me, and I did a lot of outpatient therapy work.
Uh-huh.
I needed a cane to walk, and I didn't really have a lot of endurance. So originally we would walk down the hallway to the elevator bank and then back, and eventually I walked around the block.
Yeah.
I had double vision, so I wore an eye patch, which I thought was pretty cool. Just in the grand scheme of things.
Well, you'd be a pirate.
Yeah, pirate, or Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
There you go. So, hey, let me ask this question now. So when the paramedics and there evaluated you and headed you to the hospital, how long did it take for them to realize it was a ruptured aneurysm? I'm sure they ran a bunch of other tests first, and it may have been one of the last things they put you in a CT.
Yeah, that I don't know. I know.
But you had a surgery pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I know things. All of the dominoes were in place to fall in a favorable way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how long it took. I know that I was fortunate that I went to George Washington University Hospital, which is one of the best trauma hospitals in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
So, and I guess the doctor that was on call that day is really good. So, but
he got over there going like this. Oh, yeah, it's an aneurysm. Let's get that looked at. They're that good.
Quite possible.
They're that good. Yeah. So,
but yeah, I mean, what I usually tell people is if you have a history. So for me, there's no family history. I didn't have any symptoms. So
that's another thing I was going to say. Did you not have a pounding headache?
No.
I mean, you talk about, being dizzy with the floor shifting on you. But other than that, I mean, I would have thought you'd been a pounding headache.
Yes.
As a sign something's coming.
Most people have what's called the thunderclap headache,
okay,
which is apparently the worst headache you've ever had in your life. I was fortunate that I didn't have any of that.
Wow,
I just had the sweating and then the dizzy floor.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't very typical, I don't think. What I tell other people is to go get checked if you have a family history, but otherwise not to worry about it. I think a lot of people will have aneurysms in their lifetime that won't ever rupture. So it's just an unfortunate element of life. But mine happened to rupture. There was really no cause or nothing leading up to it. And then,
I mean, you didn't have a test or anything to diagnose and let you know you need to be careful on watching. It just happened.
Yeah, it just
there was clue that it was there.
I mean, there were no indications that anything like this would ever happen to me.
I mean, you had no reason to be tested for it.
No.
Okay. I mean, because when you say, don't worry about it if it's not in your history. I mean, we can't worry about everything in life,
no, but if you,
but I mean, I go back to the first thing when I hear aneurysms, first thing I think of is John Ritter. He had that aneurysm. They discovered it, rushing him to the ER, and it burst before they even got down there, before it
right.
opened up. And so when I hear him, I'm thinking, him all of a sudden.
If there's a family history, like if people in your family have had it, or if you know that
Yeah.
that there's a history of it in your family, then I would go get tested for it to just get checked. But otherwise, there's probably no indication. Then I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry about it.
I told you they found an aortic aneurysm. I forgot what they called it specifically because it's closer to my stomach area, not at the heart area. I forgot the specific name for it right there. But they found that because they were doing a scan on me to see if I had kidney stones.
Right.
And they that's how they found mine. But the other test I've had here recently, doesn't show any sign of getting worse yet. So, like you said, if it's not a certain, well, they told me that if it's not a certain size, they won't do anything until it reaches that size.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. Even if you do happen to have one, it might be a wait and see type situation.
Yeah.
But mine ruptured. It was on the larger side. But again, it was sort of like being struck by lightning. There was no rhyme or reason to it.
Won the lottery. All right. Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So not the type of lottery we want to win.
No,
So,
no.
But to survive and come on the other side, that's another big lottery, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I would think it's for years for it to happen and them to find it. I would think it's rare to survive. I would think the percentage is low. I would
yeah.
think if they already knew it beforehand, prepared for it, that's different. But for years, all of a sudden, boom, I would think it's rare.
I don't know what the percentage. I
don't know either, but I'm just thinking.
I know typically 50% of people who have what I have die immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually another 25% die on the way to the hospital. So there's, I think there was a 1 in 6 chance of coming through this without having any sort of major cognitive issues or physical. I'm very lucky that so right now, 7 years later, my balance still isn't 100%. And if I move my head side to side, I have to wait for my vision to settle. So I'm sort of like,
catch up with you.
Yeah, it's like when you step off a merry-go-round, there's that sensation so I have that, but I don't get nauseated by it. So
okay. And you didn't have a stroke per se.
Well, I mean, technically, I guess an aneurysm is a type of stroke. So
okay.
Yeah, it's basically like a ruptured blood vessel, is what I have.
Yeah.
So, the first 3 years or so, I would say, were challenging. That I physically recovered a lot during the first year, partially because I'm relatively young and I was in good shape. But it was the emotional recovery that turned out to be a little bit more challenging.
I would think so, emotionally, mentally, because I would think for the first year, can I do this without rupturing it again? Not to strain so I don't rupture it again, not to get blood pressure up high so it doesn't rupture. I would think questioning what to do and not do would have been difficult.
I wasn't so worried about injuring myself again. It was more that the way that I process emotion was changed.
Okay.
So things that were enjoyable and fulfilling before, like teaching, weren't as enjoyable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt overwhelmed in the classroom. So a lot of it was sort of like, okay, well, now what do I do? Because
Yeah.
I'm capable enough to work and go back to work. Um, but a lot of it was kind of like, okay, the priorities I had before aren't the same priorities I have now. So a lot of it was just kind of reflecting on what would be important and enjoyable that I could do now so that I would feel engaged. Um,
Okay.
and that took about 3 years to kind of figure out. I was lucky that during COVID, I got to move back in with my parents so I could focus 100% just on recovering and not
Mm-hmm.
on anything else. And that's where I made the choice to go back to school and become a clinical mental health counselor. So I thought I could try to help other people recovering from brain injuries, um, which I
Oh
felt
yeah.
would give me the satisfaction. Um, and then while I was in school, my mother was diagnosed with ALS. So I moved back in with my parents to become one of her caregivers, and I could completely.
Uh-huh. We're kind of losing you a little bit. Kind of frozen. We not doing anything. I don't know if it's my site or your
And
site.
then
Okay, you're coming in and out. Up now we lost you. All right, Andrew. So we'll give Andrew your time to get back up here and from there. But yeah, he's gotten into the point where his mother has gotten ALS and it's time for him to take care. You left us there for a minute there, Andrew.
okay, I'm
That,
back. Sorry about that.
that's okay. That
Um,
happens. Technology is only as great as it can be.
yes.
So,
Well,
but all right, go ahead. You just getting until we lost you. Talking about your mom with the ALS.
yeah. So she got diagnosed, and I had the ability to move back in to help. She had a caregiver that would come in during the day, and then my father would take over at night.
Mm-hmm.
And he at the time was in his early 80s, so it was really difficult and a lot of a strain on him. So I was able to move back in with them and help him out, but I got to take care of her, and I could finish school.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, Andrew, we're losing you again. We're at the point when you come back, helping mom and dad, and yeah, we lost you again there. But you're at the point going back to school. You help
okay.
take care of taking some load off your dad and going back to school.
Yeah, and that turned out to be the fulfilling thing that I was hoping I could find.
Yeah.
So, and now,
Taking care of
my
mom, taking care of mom, or going back to school, or both.
taking both,
Yeah,
all of it really.
yeah,
But I think a lot of it was kind of managing my expectations. Um,
yes.
growing up, I think I had a certain idea of what success looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then after the aneurysm, I had to reevaluate what success
Oh,
was.
I can see that changing your attitude in a way. I can see that. Just like I don't know what you know, but I got my neck broke playing football, and I'm in a wheelchair, and so definitely my priorities and what I would achieve as success definitely changed
Sure.
before and after. So same thing with you. I can see this aneurysm wakes you up into a different environment and what's more important in life, most important for you. And again, I applaud that you were able to help take care of your mom and dad, because you're taking a load off him to let him rest and recover. And
Yeah.
so to help mom, I got my 85-year-old. I moved her in with me. It's been nearly 8 years now. She has dementia, and so having to deal with that with her. So I commend you everywhere. If I could stand up, I'd give you a standing ovation, and for doing it for your parents.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was really wonderful to be able to help them. It also allowed for me to sort of rediscover what would be, what I want to do with my life, and
Mm-hmm.
feel like I was still finding fulfillment.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be a win-win situation.
Sometimes we go through stuff to find our little blessings in disguise, and yeah, helping mom and dad, and like you said, strengthen your calling for this mental health degree.
Yeah. So for me, um, it took about 3 years to feel comfortable moving forward, but now
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm uh, enjoying everything much more now. I have a better perspective on life. Not
Mm-hmm.
not that I didn't have a good one before, but now I can really sort of appreciate the moments, whatever happens. If
Well, you
it's
get again for me, it's appreciating the small stuff now.
Sure,
So I call the small stuff blessings or miracles, however people want to look at it. And my big blessing, big miracle is the first thing in the morning that I get in my wheelchair and don't hit the floor,
sure.
because I've done that before and it's not a pretty sight. So those, yeah, so definitely appreciate the small stuff when you have a life changing traumatic injury.
Yeah. I find the silver linings in things now very easily, whereas before they may have been a little bit more difficult to figure out. Um,
After all this happened, again, you also find out on a lot of things, whatever we're going through, we find out how strong mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually we are. And
sure.
sometimes we forget we're this strong. You know, poor pitiful me. But then when we're hit with something, we get through it and we go, wow, I didn't know I can get through that. So before this, did you consider yourself a more than capable person of handling anything coming, or you just went with the flow
I
and
think
whatever came, came?
yeah, I mean, I was fortunate that I don't think I had to deal with anything really challenging.
Uh-huh.
Um, I certainly would be able to handle it well, I thought. Um, this
Hmm.
was sort of the first time that there was really a major setback,
Yeah.
that required a lot more effort. Um, and I mean, it really sort of helped my outlook on life. Just
Oh,
you're
yes.
sort of forced to radically change your perspective.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now, how's mom and dad right now?
Well, so unfortunately, mom passed in September of last
Uh-huh.
year.
Okay. Sorry
Um,
to hear about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I
That
mean,
ALS, for other people, it's known as the Lou Gehrig's disease. And I'm telling you that we've had a cousin, and she ALS, and she was probably like that for 15, 20 years. And again, not that I would wish anything on anybody, but I'm glad that I'm paralyzed where I lost everything at one time, because I'd hate to think ALS and I'm walking one day and then I'm stumbling one day and can't pick up a pencil the next day and can't get the fork the other day and can't use a straw to swallow, drink out of. And you're slowly losing things. Uh, I don't know if I could handle that one.
yeah, my mother handled it very well in
Mm-hmm.
terms of just it was difficult, but she always had a positive outlook. It was actually really enjoyable to spend. I lived with my parents for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable to spend the time with them, even though it wasn't the most pleasant circumstances.
Oh, yes.
Um, my
But again,
father's
being knowing that you're helping and making life a little easier, a little. It's not a whole lot, but a little easier. And them knowing you there, was probably the biggest thing for them.
Yeah, again, it was nice. It was
All
uh,
right, Andrew, you're doing the robot thing with your voice, so we give you time for you to come back on, and from there.
yeah,
But uh, yeah, you did
sure.
froze up again. But Yeah, like I said,
Okay.
for them knowing you're there was a big beneficial for them.
Yeah, and for me too. I had been
Yeah,
searching for something that would give me fulfillment, and that's what it turned
purpose.
out to be.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
but yeah, I don't condemn anybody on how they take care of their parents. That's them. But I'm glad I'm able to do what I can for my mom. I'm just worried that because I'm in a wheelchair and got an older brother that helps a whole lot, but if she gets bedridden and she can't go to the bathroom and can't, get to the tub and everything to clean up. I don't know what we'll be able to do at that point, but I'm glad right now we're able to do what we can to keep her out of those other areas.
sure.
So, all right, Andrew. Well, I appreciate you being here. Hey, you mentioned to me, well, you didn't bring it up one time about your book here. Let me pop it up. You got one out called The Second Act: My Recovery of a Ruptured Brain Aneurysm, Andrew Davie. Go ahead and tell people a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I have another book coming out called Land of Illusions with an A, which
Okay.
sort of covers the first 3 years of recovery. The second act covers years like 4 and 5. Um, and then I have a
Oh, you're
third.
doing like Star Wars, right?
It wasn't meant to necessarily be like that, to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
out
yeah.
out of order, but I
That's okay.
I would find that there were interesting levels to the recovery. The
Hmm.
first few years mostly was physical. The second two, it was.
All right, we're losing you again, Andrew. So they give you time to get back on place. But you said the first year was something, second year you started, and so we'll come back. But again, for anyone out there, especially going through an aneurysm, but anything that you defeated and is moved forward in life and helping other people, man, you're amazing. But you're double amazing if you're able to take care. And I know not everybody can do it, but if you can help take care of mom and dad the best it can, they deserve it. And again, just do the best you can and don't get upset if down the line they have to go into a place. All right, Andrew, you're back, it looks like. But we
Yes.
got to, you was talking about year one and something in year two.
Yeah, so there will be 3 installments that sort of cover years 1 through 7. Um, as different things sort of changed, the focal
Hmm.
point changes. So the first one is more about the physical recovery. The second one is the emotion recovery in school, and the third one is more of my role as a caregiver. Um,
Okay,
so
good,
this
good.
one is out now. The second act is out now, and then the other 2 will hopefully be out within the next year or so.
There you go. So people can be on the lookout. All right. All right, Andrew, if you got want to tell anybody, you got a website or any way they can get a hold of you, social media, in case someone else in similar situation may want to contact you?
Sure. So my website is my name. It's andrew-davie.com. And there's links to all of my stuff. There's an email correspondence there. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
And do the old Googling. And Davie, Davie, Davie. So do the old Google. That'll get you everywhere. And we'll put the website and other stuff in the show notes to help out Andrew. So, man, I appreciate you here. I'm glad that you were able to recover. But recovery is like hitting the lottery itself from this. So we're glad you're able to be here with us and give us some fire me up inspiration. Oh, I think we've froze again. Come on back, Andrew. One more time. We need one more. All right, Andrew, come on back. All right, Andrew. We're going to wrap it up here. So, we know people are hurting and struggling
Okay.
today. And if you can leave us with a positive message, it'd be a blessing, man.
Yeah, there is a movie that I really liked growing up called Barfly, and one of the characters says endurance is more important than truth. And I always thought that would be a really wonderful mantra to have. So that's what I would say. Endurance, and truth can be people telling you something that they think will happen, and if you hold out hope, then that may prove the naysayers wrong.
Yeah, keep it endurance to keep you going full steam ahead. And if nothing else, keep you going at that snail's pace. But as long as you're going, keep that endurance going.
Absolutely.
All right, Andrew, I appreciate you being here, man. So
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry that I kept disappearing.
That's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. If people, we can get you back at another time when your next book comes out. So, and we can go from there.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody else, share this with someone that can use a little fire me up. Andrew's been through quite a bit, and again, hats off. Don't have a hat, but hat off to you for taking care of mom and dad. So,
thank you so much.
Especially after what you went through in your recovery. So, on top of that, so keeping yourself healthy. Everybody else, share it to someone else that can use this. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.